taking a couple of days off the bike. You guys might remember a few weeks ago I went to see Coach Ken and we filmed covering a couple of topics on that day. One of them I really didn't want to waste, and that's, do you really need structured training? Keep watching to find out. Do you really need structured training?
Great question. And I'm going to give the classic coach answer of it depends. Because it all depends what your goals are, where you're trying to get to, where you're starting from. Structured training, it isn't the appropriate thing for absolutely everyone at all times. If you just want to enjoy riding your bike, do more bike rides, do slightly longer ones, you can get a hell of a long way without any structured training. But if you've got any kind of competitive edge about you, any kind of interest in performance, or going a lot faster, or even if it's as simple as you don't want to be dropped by everyone every weekend, so you need to be stronger and faster, then yes, structured training will benefit you. But it doesn't necessarily mean you have to follow really strict, precise intervals all the time, and if you go 1 minute over your specified volume, it's all going to go wrong. It's more about training at the right intensity for the right amount of time. It can be boiled down to something as simple as that, understanding how hard you need to train in order to get the effect that you want and how much of it you need. It's not necessarily down to the exact, okay, do a 5 minute interval. There's nothing magic that happens in the 5th minute of that interval. It's more about accumulating time at the right intensity, and the structure helps you do that. And it also helps a coach or someone who's written a program communicate with you as to what intensity you need to be riding at. It's quite hard for me to say, all right, go out and do your ride at 2 millimoles blood lactate, or go out and ride at 90% of your VO2 max, because they're foreign concepts. You can't measure it whilst you're training. So if you've got this structured system of power-based zones or heart rate-based zones, it's much easier as a communication tool to just say, go out and ride in zone 2. Or make sure on this interval you get your heart rate into zone 5. So it's purely a communication tool to make sure you're riding at the right intensity. It doesn't have to completely ruin all your fun. I think this is a bit of a misconception. Oh, I don't need intervals. Oh, they're too boring. Zone 2 is too boring. I think it's more about just being confident in training at the right intensity and knowing that low intensity is okay and understanding the boundaries of that. Because it can be too low, and if you combine too low, too high in the same ride, then it's not a structured ride and you're not really hitting those energy systems that you really want to train up. So it's more about just focusing you in on the right things, rather than like, this has to be 30 seconds on, 15 seconds off, otherwise it doesn't work. It's not quite as clean cut as that. It's just a useful communication tool to get you faster. And it dials you into the mindset of actually measuring your progress. Because if you're not following structure, you don't necessarily know if you're fitter than the previous week or the previous month.
You have nothing to compare it to.
You've got nothing to compare it to. You're not repeating any of the same things. You're just going out and doing a bike ride all the time. Or you end up comparing your average speed, which is not a really useful tool for measuring your progress. Or you're measuring your progress in, oh, well, I did 50 miles this week. I only did 40 miles last week, so I must be getting better. But that's bringing things into the equation like weather, wind, and what tyres you had on, and your equipment choices. All these kind of things influence your distance and your speed. So following more of a structured training plan, it's on controllable metrics that actually are linked to your fitness, and you can actually see, oh well, last month I could only ride for 45 minutes at 200 watts. Now I can do a whole hour at 200 watts. So you can actually track and measure your progress, and then you know that it's working. Doesn't necessarily have to be this big, scary, boring thing that people, for some reason, seem to reject all the time, or feel like, oh no, I don't need structure. I'm better than that. I can just get by with just riding. I think it's just using your time on the bike efficiently and being smart and using all the data you have available to you in order to get the results that you want. It doesn't mean no fun is allowed. Mm-hmm. Often a part of the challenge is finding a way to enjoy the steady, simple, boring bike rides.
So how much difference does it actually make? Because you could take Julian Alaphilippe or any other pro, and they could just ride their bike around with no structured training whatsoever, and they're going to be way better than us. So how much difference does that actual structure make to their performance? Can you talk about it in terms of percentages or what?
Will it ruin my credibility at all if I eat cheese whilst I answer?
You've nearly eaten all the cheese.
I'm
was on
almost
that
eating
plate.
all the cheese.
Yeah.
Can I give percentages on how much faster structured training is going to make you? And does a pro need structured training? Without wanting to name names and give away details of people's training that I've coached before, I do have some really good examples of people that have achieved a really high level of fitness and got some awesome race results, like CTT National Time Trial Championship winners, that have taken a break from structured training after this big long slog of hard graft towards a national champs victory, and they've actually done more riding, but they've gone, I don't want to follow structure for a little while, I need a bit of a mental break from it, and that's absolutely fine, it's great. So they've gone out and ridden their bike more, they've done probably 10 to 15 hours more in that month, but they've managed to get less fit with more riding, because there's no structure, there's no focus, there's a bit too much of everything and not enough of the one right thing. And that particular rider did a road bike time trial about 4 or 5 weeks after just sort of going rogue and doing what they wanted, and they were about 30 watts down on their 10-mile time trial power, and that was on a road bike compared to their time trial bike previous personal best. So yes, the structure helps, and it's not just about more is more. Ride as much as you can and you'll get better, because if it was, it would be just a competition of who's done the most riding. And everyone kind of, if you put it in those terms, they get it. And oh no, well, it's not just about the person who rides 24 hours a day is going to win the Tour de France, because obviously it doesn't work like that. So you need a bit of focus and riding at the right intensity and understanding your zones and what structure does for you in order to get that extra level of performance. And also with the whole the pros don't need it, they're genetically gifted thing, I don't buy that for a second. They still have to work bloody hard, they still have to train in the right zones and the right intensities. It's just a lot easier for them because their numbers are so big, they've got much of a much broader range to play with. So their zone 2 might be like 180 to 240 watts. They've got a whole 60 watt range there that is getting good quality training time for them. So then to them it might feel like just going out and riding and doing whatever and just doing a nice easy ride, but it is a structured ride. As soon as you start saying things like, oh, this is just an easy ride, or I'm going to go and do some hill reps today, that's structure. That's intentionally riding at a certain intensity to get a desired effect. That's all structure is. There's no magic sauce there in the actual length of the interval or number of reps or anything like that. It's just targeting your training time around getting the results that you want. But I guarantee you, Julian Alaphilippe has done some fitness testing and has someone giving him training zones, and he goes out and does intervals. Of course he does all those things. And I would put money on the fact that he wouldn't be world champ if he wasn't following some kind of structure. It doesn't matter how genetically gifted or talented you are, you need to do focused, purposeful practice in order to become the best in the world at something. The sport's at such a high level that you can't get away with it. You just can't.
Potentially in the past?
Oh, wow, yeah. I mean, that's a different conversation. But even those guys train hard. Everyone's systems, everyone's functions similar pathways and similar ways. Everyone's got an aerobic system and anaerobic energy systems and pathways. It all functions the same, and people respond in similar ways to similar stimulus. It's like most people have got 2 legs, and they use those legs for walking. It's like the functions within the body work in similar ways from one person to the next. So you need to be doing the right things if you want those results in big races or big events or whatever it is.
So what if there's guys out there who are watching this video, have never done any structured training before, and they wanted to experience it for the first time? Where should they be looking?
First of all, I don't think you need to spend any money straight away. I think if you're interested to see if it'll help you, there are free programs out there. If you just want a basic road cycling structured training plan, go to the British Cycling website. There's free plans on there. If you want a really high level of precision and you want to make sure it's the best training plan for you and it's personalized to your needs and your lifestyle so you can get the most out of yourself, then a coach is a really good option there. If you just want a well thought out training program, things like Trainer Road and Zwift and all that stuff do a really good job. They'll get you most of the way there. They'll be pretty good for most people. But if you want that extra few percent, then it really does pay to have things personalised to you, and really to have someone there to act as a soundboard and to be accountable to. The downside of things like Trainer Road and Zwift is you're not accountable to anyone. If you miss a session, no one's going to be messaging you saying, "Are you okay? I noticed you haven't done the session. Just want to check in and make sure you're all right." There's no accountability there. So I think they're always going to fall down on that side of things. I wrote a little article in Cycling Weekly a couple of years ago now discussing that topic. Will automatic coaching software ever replace a real life coach? And I think it will get a hell of a lot better and really, really good in the future, but it's never going to replace personal human interaction and the need to just chat things through with someone and have them understand you and what's going on in your life, and things that aren't recorded with a power meter and a heart rate monitor, because that's the only thing those automatic bits of software have got to go off. And you don't really want to go down the route of filling in a 50 question multi-choice questionnaire every day so that it knows absolutely everything about your day and can make more informed decisions off the back of that. Because it's like, I don't want to do that. Who's got time for that?
You can just hire someone to...
Yeah, exactly. It's probably quicker to just have a chat with a coach who's got the right experience. Things like the Whoop band, from what I hear, are going down that route. They're like, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done any of this today? Have you drunk? Have you done this? Have you had these supplements? And the amount of questions you have to answer every day for it to be able to give you back usable information is just massive. I'm like, surely it's going to get to a point where it's easier to just engage with someone who's got the experience, who's been through it, who sort of knows most of what's going on anyway and can just give you some quick, useful, easy advice.
As always, some wise words from Coach Ken. If you'd like to hire him as a coach, he is available. So I'm going to put a link down below to his website. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section down below. And he said he's going to look at them and answer if you can. So if you have any questions related to coaching, training, or bike riding in general, put them in the section down below. Thank you as always for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.